ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। अजं निर्विकल्पं निराकारमेकं निरानन्दमानन्दमद्वैतपूर्णं परं निर्गुणं निर्विशेषं निरीहं परब्रह्मरूपं गणेशं भजेम. Team Param Vedanta extends a warm welcome for the 42nd session of Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse, and a very good evening to all of you. Tomorrow is the 152nd birth anniversary of the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji, a true votary of Bhagavad Gita. Mahatma Gandhi had often acknowledged Bhagavad Gita's profound effect on his life and was captivated throughout his life by Gita's message. He interpreted that the quintessence of the entire work of Gita was action without expectation of the fruit. Anasakti Yoga. To quote Gandhiji, quote, "The Gita is the universal mother. She turns away nobody. Her door is wide open to anyone who knocks. A true votary of Gita does not know what disappointment is." Unquote. October 2nd also happens to be the 117th birth anniversary of India's second Prime Minister and a great leader, Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri. Lal Bahadur Shastri, greatly influenced by Mahatma Gandhi ji, lived all his life with simplicity, truth, and virtue, which made us understand the clear meaning of integrity. Through his slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Shastri could enthuse both the soldiers and the farmers alike. Soldiers were cheered to defend the country, and the farmers were cheered to increase food production and reduce import in the wartime. Though a peace-loving person, he became instrumental in unexpectedly authorizing the Indian armed forces for the 1965 war with Pakistan, which can be likened to Krishna goading Arjuna to fight the battle of righteousness. He more than lived up to his ideals of a true Gandhian. With this recall of two of our great leaders, we continue our foray through the 6th chapter with an attempt to understand the next 6 verses from verse number 37 to 42. Arjuna raises questions pertaining to the obstacles in the practice of meditation, and Krishna begins to present the remedy which we saw in the last session. And in today's session, we continue with further questioning by Arjuna and the answers given by Krishna. Our team of speakers for today consists of Dr. Bhaskar, Dr. Sheila, Srimati Nilima, Dr. Jagdish, and Srimati Jyotirmayi Karthik. Our revered teacher, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, will bring in his wisdom to collate the verses, giving us a bigger picture with a perspective. Today's chanting is by Kumari Anjana. Let's tune in to resonate with our understanding of these verses. To begin with, we have Dr. Kiran giving us a quick recap of the last session, which is important for picking up the strands from where we left. Dear friends, let's brace ourselves to take off on this inward journey to remove the obstacles brick by brick as directed by Krishna. Over to you, Dr. Kiran, sir.
Namaste. Gurubhyo Namah. Welcome. In chapter 6, Lord Krishna gives one of the most beautiful expositions on meditation. It can be divided into 6 topics, starting with Bahiranga Sadhana or general discipline required, then specific steps before meditation, the actual process of meditation, its benefit, then the obstacles to it and remedy. This week, we will be studying about Yoga Prashta and also later in chapter 8. The recurring theme about this whole chapter is Samadarshanam, equanimity or equipoise, Ananda, Bhakti, and Samadarshanam. Nearing the end of the Pratama Shatkam, Krishna is moving from Manushya Prayatna or human effort to Daivi Anugraha or grace of God. Bhakti here gets crystallized as a result of dhyana. He sees divinity in all, Sarvatva Atma Darshanam. Here he moves from Ekarupa to Anekarupa, Vishwarupa, and finally Arupa. Like in Rasa Leela of Bhagavatam, where initially Gopikas were fighting for one Lord Krishna, he disappears and appears as Aneka. And lastly, Krishna leaves Mathura, but never the heart of Radha. Here, Jnana Bhakti, I disappear, but God remains, no Radha. Does Gnani stop worshipping? No. Yogi abides in me, though engaged in all activities. Shankaracharya wrote a beautiful work called Puja, where he says, how can I offer you asana as the whole world is resting inside you? His vision transcends ritual worshipping. He worships for the joy of it, like Ramakrishna. He does not have special prayers or requests or demands. He does it for Loka Kalyana or Dharma. Sarva Bhuta Sthitam. That means Lord, which is present in every living being as the very life and as easiness. He abides in me and never separate. This vision is further expands to include all. Therefore, he follows this universal value that what I do not want others to do to me, I will never do to them. So he feels happy when others are. There is no jealousy involved. So the common notion that Vedantin is selfish and heartless is not correct. In fact, it is the other way around. He is most compassionate. Such a person is Paramaha or greatest, he says. And he also says it is Mataha, that is my opinion. So as I see it, not just because Veda say it. So he is here mentioning Aparoksha Jnana. This is easier said and done. Mind is like a wind, subtle to grasp, but can be powerful like a storm. So I find it difficult, says Arjuna. So Lord Krishna explains the reason for obstacles and its remedy. And in Gauda Karika, there are 4 obstacles, the causes and remedies is mentioned. Here, Lord Krishna explains 2. First is laya or dullness of mind or sleepiness, drowsiness. The main cause here is overeating, indigestion, etc., and can be removed. Next is vikshepa. Mind is overactive, fleeting from one thought to another. This can be controlled by abhyasa, vairagya, and satsanga. Next is kashaya, that is, we become stunned or stabda, knowing at many a times what to do, and mind keeps wandering. This is often due to suppressed guilt desires. So the remedy is to let it out, like we have crying sessions, cathartic meditation, which Osho is famous for. Next is rasavada, addicted to pleasure of meditation. It is the most difficult to get out, like a golden shackle. People often confuse this with sthita prajna or enlightenment. How to get this out? This is due to viveka or discrimination. Any experience which comes and goes is not Brahman, as teachers say. So this is also in line with scientific teaching, scientific studies. Richard Davidson, in his unified theory of happy brain, has put 4 pillars of well-being. First is our ability to recover from negative states, and second is our ability to maintain positive states. These 2 are independent leaders. You find some people are very positive, but something tragedy struck, they collapse and becomes very unhappy. So both are equally required. And third is our ability to focus and avoid mind wandering. This is where we talk about meditation. And fourth is our ability to be generous. So we need meditation not just for only spiritual lofty goals, but also for our daily well-being. Action is needed for life, whereas meditation is needed for well-being. Next, how to do the practice or abhyasa. Here, we have to keep the long-term benefits in mind. First is we should have a clear roadmap or what is called as Vyavasatmaka Buddhi. Next, we should give value to life. This human life is very precious. We should not waste it by chasing some things. And next, we should lead a life of value, and then satsanga. I remember when we were coming back from Kailash, we stopped near Nepal border. A group before us were about to leave. Their bus was delayed by few hours. Instead of frustrating and crying, one of them said, "Hey, come, let us sing some songs and enjoy." And they started singing bhajans, and everybody was happy. Even if one or two were unhappy, in that whole thing, everybody was joy. So with satsanga, this spiritual journey is easy and a joy forever. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran, for a nice recap of all the verses we studied in the last class, and which we saw some of the most beautiful verses, not only of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, but of the entire Bhagavad Gita itself. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Having completed the actual teaching of meditation, in fact, there is no better manual on meditation than the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where in addition to all aspects, Shri Krishna also discussed some of the obstacles and their solution. We have come to a new topic called Yoga Bhrashta, which we will be discussing in today's topic. Essentially, all of us, if we have made our efforts, but before we attain to our goal of Parama Purushartha, if a person dies, what happens? Shri Krishna, as you will see in today's class and in the next class, you will see Krishna gives a very strong answer. And this answer comes very, very clearly in the 18th chapter. He says, those who understand my teaching, and if you get Brahma Vidya, you get moksha. Those who are not able to get it, even this very interaction, even this Shravanam of the Bhagavad Gita gives you so much of punya. In fact, you will listen in this class, amount of punya that you will get, that it will certainly offer you Swarga. And therefore, Shri Krishna assures a person that if you are into the Jnana Marga path, you don't have to worry. Now, supposing you're not able to attain to this life, what will happen? Krishna tells such a person, a Yoga Bhrashta, will have a very conducive birth in the next life. And you will be able to start off not right from the bottom, but from where you left in the last time. You will be a kind of a spiritual genius in the next life. And therefore, Krishna's message, I want you to be sensitive, is never be pessimistic. Enjoy this spiritual journey. I will give you one example of a Yoga Bhrashta in one of the direct disciples of Sri Adi Shankara in the story of Hasta Malaka. Now, these sources of these are from the Shankara Digvijaya by Sri Vidyaranya Swami, the most extensive authoritative information on the life of Adi Shankara. And this is also there in the website of Sringeri. For many of us who may be critical, I will say believe it or not, but this is the available information, that when Sri Adi Shankara was visiting the Mukambika temple, from a village nearby called Sri Vali, a person called Prabhakara came with his 13-year-old son. And he said, there is a problem with this boy. He is not interacting with anybody. He does not speak at all. He looks absolutely dumb. I want you to bless this boy. And he prostrated and he asked the little boy to prostrate. But the little boy fell on the feet of Adi Shankara and never got up. Adi Shankara, in his compassion, lifts up this little boy and asks him, who are you? What is your name? You are such a sweet child. Can you tell me more about yourself? And this boy, who had never spoken before, and this is recorded as Hasta Malakiya, a string of 12 verses, which is the essence of all Vedanta. And it is not just an ordinary level of Vedanta, it is a very evolved level of Vedanta with very beautiful examples. And the chorus of each verse, each of those 12 verses will end like this. Sanityopalabdhi swarupoham atma. Sanityopalabdhi swarupoham atma. I am of the nature of Sat and Chit. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. It means the same. The opening verse, when Hasta Malakiya spoke, the little boy says, Na aham manushya na cha deva yakshaha na brahmana shaktriya vaishya shudra na brahmachari na grihi vanasta Bhikshu na chaham Nija Bodha Rupaha. In beautiful Sanskrit, giving wonderful examples, this boy spoke again and again. These are such lofty verses, and never before it has happened where the Guru, where the Acharya has written a commentary on the work by a little boy, on the student. Adi Shankara immediately saw something extraordinary in the little boy. He called him Hasta Amalaka. Amala means a gooseberry, which is kept in the palm. One who has understood Brahma Vidya as if it is something so direct in your palm. And so he says this boy is somebody who has already got Brahma Vidya. And it asks the parents if he can take him along with him as a student. And this Hasta Malakiya now becomes one of his 4 direct disciples. And later on, when Adi Shankara was appointing each of his direct disciples to his various matas, Hasta Malakiya became the first Acharya of the Govardhana Mat. Now, Adi Shankara himself was asked, how did this happen? How did this little boy who had no previous instruction, how did he get so much knowledge? How did he get Brahma Vidya? Adi Shankara gives the story of what is a yoga brashta. He says when Hasta Malaka's mother took this 2-year-old boy to a pond to have her bath, and she left the little boy on the banks, and there was a sadhu sannyas sitting and meditating. She requested him if he could take care of the little boy, and he seemed to have agreed, and the mother went for her bath. The little boy strolled into the water, and before anybody could realize, he was drowned, and the boy lost his life. The mother came out, and you can imagine the inconsolable mother crying in front of the sadhu. The sadhu's heart melted, and it is said he had some powers by his yogic bala to give up his own life, and he entered the body of the little boy and enlivened that body. And so there was therefore a sukshma sharira of a realized person who entered the boy. And thereby, when the boy became around 13 or so, he was able to express the wisdom that was already given to him in his previous life. And that is what is a yoga brashta. Why is this important for us? As we study in these classes, we will see. Now, immediately after the 6th chapter, we go to the 7th chapter. In the 7th chapter, the 3rd verse goes like this: Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhai. Among the thousands and thousands of human beings, it is only a very handful, a small number of people come very seriously to study Brahma Vidya. And then he gives another warning: Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. Among all of them, very few actually go all the way. He is talking of all of us. And who is this all of us? All of us who have got interest in Brahma Vidya, who have been able to come to this level of understanding, are actually yoga brashtas in our previous life. We have worked, otherwise we will not have this kind of inclination. We will not be able to spend this amount of time on a working day, to spend so many hours in a week to understand these verses. What does it mean to us? It means, I'll touch another verse. In Viveka Chudamani, the 3rd verse goes like this: Durlabam trayam evatid daivanugraha hetukam manushutvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha asamshaya. 3 things are extremely difficult to get. To get a human birth, which we have got. To get to have a desire for spiritual life. To be and that too for Jnana Yoga, to be a mumukshu. And to get acharyas like that we have got. Now, that means we are all yoga brashtas. Are we working to become yoga brashtas once again? Let us not miss this opportunity. When Parikshit had 1 week, he invested 1 week of his time and he got enlightened. We are not sure if we have 1 week's time. Let us make all our efforts that in this life, I'm going to work to get Brahma Vidya. We will study these verses. Dr. Bhaskar will tell us about the opening verse. Over to you, Dr. Bhaskar.
Om Gurubhyo Namaha. So I would like to give a small introduction from verse 33 to 47. Krishna deals out Vikshepa Pratibandha by elaborating Dhyana Pratibandha Parihara through Vairagyam and Abhyasa in the verse 33 to 36. In fact, chapter 6 is over at 36th verse. But Arjuna comes out with a pessimistic question in 37 and justifies it in 38 and 39 verse. Lord Krishna explains that through 40 to 45th verse, then comes back again on Vedantic meditation in 46 and 47th verse, in glorification of Vedantic meditation, and concludes Atma Samyama Yoga, the center theme being directing mind towards Vedantic teaching. With 36th verse, Dhyana Pratibandha Parihara, Vairagyam is given a very important position in the scriptures. When Krishna concludes in this manner, Arjuna looks at himself and sees whether he will be able to develop a total detachment, that is Vairagyam, and practice Vedantic meditation and assimilate. And this is not only Arjuna's problem, but universal problem among all the seekers. When a seeker comes to the spiritual field, after seeing the spiritual sadhana, becomes extremely pessimistic and feels, can an ordinary person ever attain liberation? So pessimism is a common obstacle to every seeker. Arjuna's worry is, I have not done enough karma, so probably I may not get Swarga. I have not gained enough knowledge, so probably no moksha. He is like in between status, like a Trishanku. So Arjuna identifies with the majority of humanity and presents this problem to Lord Krishna in the verse 37, which goes like this. Arjuna vacha ayate shraddhayopitam yoga chalita manasaha apraya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchate. Arjuna asks, O Krishna, suppose there is one who is endowed with faith, but whose effort is insufficient and whose mind has strayed away from Dhyana Yoga, having not attained the results of Dhyana Yoga, what goals does he attain? Basically, Arjuna is asking about Yoga Brashta. If one becomes a Yoga Brashta, what happens? Yoga Chalita Manasa means, Yoga means Adhyatma Yoga or spiritual sadhana. Chalita Manasa means he has fallen from spirituality. Why he could not succeed? That is because of ayati, means alpa prayatna or insufficient effort. These insufficient efforts can be due to obstacles of falling nature. Adi Daivika Pratibandham, that is because of supernatural powers. Adi Baudhika Pratibandham, because of the surroundings. Adhyatmika Pratibandham, because of oneself or because of ill health. Shraddhaya Pita, even in spite of sincere effort, having true value for spiritual life, you could not follow because of obstacle. Hapraya Yoga Samsiddhim means attainment of Moksha Palam. Hapraya means he could not attain even that. So because of some obstacles, he could not attain Moksha Palam. So Kim Gatim Gacchati means what is the lot of that person? So this is a question Arjuna is asking to Krishna. Krishna is wanting to do all, struggles to bring Arjuna to moksha, but Arjuna is like an adamant horse, is not moving. So Arjuna explains and justifies his pessimism in the next two verses. Hari Om sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bhaskar, for a nice explanation of Arjuna's question, which brings out the topic of Yoga Brashta. Ayatihi, that means one who does not put enough effort, who has fallen off from his path. Aprapya, who does not attain Yoga Samsiddham. O Krishna, what happens to such a person? What is the goal of such a person? A very relevant and a very pertinent question. There are two more questions by Arjuna, which will be explained to us by Dr. Sheila. Over to you, Dr. Sheila.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse goes like this. Kaschin no bhaya vibrashtaha chinna brahmiva nashyati apratishto mahabhaho vimudho brahmanaha pati. In continuation with previous verse, Arjuna himself explains the word ubayo vibrashtaha by using two words. You can see in this slide, apratishtaha and brahmanaha pati vimudaha. Ubayo is two, Vibrashtaha is fallen or lost, Apratishtaha is no support. And Brahmana Pati Vimudaha. Vimudaha is he is deluded in the path towards Brahman. So Apratishtaha, he doesn't have karma palam or karma punyam support. So there is no Swarga Loka, and in Brahmana Pati, he doesn't have moksha. So he is both karma and jnana pratishtaha rahitaha. So neither he is triangular format nor binary format person. For this, an example is given in this verse. Chinnabaram iva nashyati. He will perish like a small patch of cloud. Perish means he will have an inferior janma. We'll go into the explanation of this verse. Swamiji says, imagine two huge bodies of clouds. One is compared to Grihastha doing Panchamaha Yajnas. Another is compared to Vidvat Sannyasi. Then when small patch of cloud decided to separate from Grihastha cloud with an intention to join Vidvat Sannyasi cloud. Now there is an intermediary stage, that is Vividisha Sannyasi stage. This stage is dangerous because this small piece of cloud in the middle of the sky can disintegrate and perish if powerful wind blows. Similarly, if Vividisha Sannyasi dies because of powerful winds, that is Prarabdha, will he not spiritually perish? This is the question of Arjuna to Krishna. Saha Nashyati Kaschit means, doesn't he perish? So one more example is given by Swamiji. How the cubs, that is baby animals, are attacked by the predators when they get separated from their herd. He compares Vividisha Sannyasi to baby animal. The Prarabdha to predators ready to attack. The gurus are the protecting adults. They protect until you become Jnananishta. Then this unfortunate Vividisha Sannyasi is Apratishtaha, without protecting fence or support of the adult. So what are the two supports? Very well explained. Every puja we do is a fence from Papa Prarabdha. Papa Prarabdha is like a predator attack. Every small punya karma we do is a reinforcement with the fence. This fence, compared to Panchamaha Yajna, the Vividisha Sannyasi has removed by leaving Grihastha Ashrama in a hurry. The second support also is a miserable failure. They all take to sannyasa with good intentions, but there is no proper teaching available. Instead of Shastra Vichara, they get into everything else. It is said here, Vimudha Brahmana Pati. They forget the very purpose of sannyasa, that is Jnana Yoga, and die as an ignorant sannyasi. He could not assert Aham Brahmasmi even at Antakale. To conclude Krishna's question, fallen from both, is he left in no man's world? What happens to those numerous persons who have not succeeded in pursuing the extremely difficult path of yoga to its end? Is it any good beginning a course which one may not able to complete? So Arjuna, we can see in the next verse, in the next slide, the Arjuna is desperate, and the verse goes like this. Etan me samshayam Krishna chetum marhasya sheshataha tvadyanya samshaya syasya chetana na yupapadyate. So Arjuna is desperate now. He says, hey Krishna, you can see the meaning in the next verse, next slide. Hey Krishna, etat samshayam chetum harhasi. You should destroy this doubt of mine. Asesataha, completely and clearly. And why Arjuna is asking Krishna only? Because anyaya tvat chetaha upapadyate. There cannot be any person other than Krishna who can destroy this doubt. Why? Because this question is regarding life after death, which we can never know. It is apaurushaya vishaya. No other pramanam other than Veda can answer this question. So to conclude, Bhagavan alone is karma paladata and who alone can answer this question. So the answers given by Krishna you can see in the subsequent verses. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila, for explaining these two verses, which are part of Arjuna's same questions about the pessimistic thought that he has got. Once you come into a path of Vedanta, you have given up the normal path of karmas, Vedic rituals, which get various punya. And for some reason, if I have not been able to attain, then I have ubhaya brashta. I have fallen from both paths. I will have no support, apratishtaha. I would have lost my brahmagati. And then he says, I have a real doubt, O Krishna. What happens to such a person? Because this doubt, this may samshaya, this doubt, only you can remove, because you are the person who will be able to answer, and no one else can answer this question. So essentially, he's making a polite request, and we will address this. And Nilima will address in what verse 40, what Shri Krishna's answer. Over to you, Nilima.
Jai Gurudev. The present verse is a reply to Arjuna's question. It's also a universal question. In case a seeker fails in his spiritual journey and dies before attaining moksha or jnana, what will happen to me in his next birth? Arjuna was worried that if one has not done enough good karma in this life, he will not get Swarga. Also, if one has not succeeded in gaining knowledge, there will be no moksha. Will it not be a downfall in spirituality? Will he not become Ubhaya-vibrasta? So, who has fallen away from both kind of lifestyles, which is Karma Marga and Jnana Marga? Lord Krishna gave an elaborate answer. From verse 40, in the following 5 verses, Lord tries to explain the path of progress of a seeker whose spiritual endeavors have been ended by sudden death or sensuous temptations. In this section, Lord Krishna assures neither here nor hereafter is there for him any distraction. He who performs the right action. Let us see the verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Partha Naiveha Namutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krut Kaschit Durgatim Tata Gacchati. Meaning, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the blessed Lord said, Partha na iva iha na amutra. O Partha, neither here nor in the next word. Vinasha tasya vidyate. Is there a distraction for him? Nahi kalyana krit kaschit. None verily who strives to do good. Durgatim tata gacchati. O my son, ever comes to grief. This statement, Partha naiveha namutra. Vinashastasya vidyate. In this statement, Lord Krishna says, whoever follows the spiritual path has only 2 possibilities. If one gains the knowledge, he will get moksha. If the person who does not get the knowledge, but because of this sheer punyam of listening to the scriptures, he is going to enjoy Swargaphalam. Therefore, one can never be pessimistic in one's spiritual journey. The Lord assures neither here nor hereafter will be the seeker have to face any grief. And the second line, Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. Through this verse, the Lord supports his statement with philosophical truth. Tasya. For him, kalyana krit, for the doer of the good, durgatim na gacchati tata. Dear son, there will never be a woeful end. See, whoever acts righteously in the present will never face grief in the future, because the future is the product of the present. Good actions can lead only to success and joy, but not distress. Just as mango seeds give rise only to mango trees. Whatever we sow, we shall reap, because effects are cause alone in another form. Just as all ornaments of gold are gold alone in another form. With fatherly love, Krishna, man of wisdom, is assuring Arjuna that one who is striving in the direction of evolution shall never come to suffer here or hereafter. Even in the Bible, we find similar statements. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. No matter how many times one may stumble in the path of yoga, he shall finally be rescued. Starting from verse 40 and the following verses, explain the progress of seeker whose practices have ended by a sudden death or sensuous temptations. Conclusion. Krishna assures that there will not be any grief here and hereafter for anyone who performs the right action. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Nilima. That was a very reassuring answer. If we look into the words of Sri Krishna, O Partha, na eva, not here, nor hereafter. Na mutra, winner, vinasha. There is no destruction for Kalyana Krit. Kalyana Krit means one who does good actions. It is said that just the Shravanam, listening and study of the Bhagavad Gita, as you will see, gives so much of benefits. So even though we may not be able to attain to our goal, the very practice, our efforts will give us, a person therefore will not have any form of a destruction. More will be explained by Dr. Jagdish in verse 41. Over to you, sir.
Gurubhyo Namaha. While it is true that there is no Jivan Mukti without meditation and assimilation, Arjuna, like most of us, is pessimistic and a doubting Thomas. And in fact, this thread runs right from Vishada Yoga till now. This has been elaborated by the previous speakers also today. Like in Shloka 37, Arjuna asks, what if I fail and cannot reach perfection, a failed ascent? And then in 38 and 39, am I not like the torn cloud, deprived of heavenly bodies and moksha? Krishna, only you can slash my doubts. I am thoroughly confused. He appeals. Well, Bhagavan Uvacha steps in Shloka 40, and he says, there is no fall for anyone here or hereafter. Swami Paramji calls it as Mukhya Phalam and Anantara Phalam. And now in this Shloka 41 clarifies about heaven and rebirth. The Shloka as such goes like this. Prapya punya kritam lokanam sitva shashwati samaha chuchinam srimatam gehe yoga brashto vijayate. Next slide, sir. The meaning would go something like this. Prapya lokam punya kritam, having attained worlds of virtuous people, let's call it heaven, lokanu shitva shashwatihi, and having lived for long, shashwata, in such a heaven, sama yoga brashta, even if one has fallen from yoga while he stay in the earth, abhijayate gehe, he is reborn in a family, gehe, shuchinam srimatam, of cultured and prosperous. The essence of this shloka is solace. Krishna details here about the marananantara gati. Even if the mukhya phalam of gnana and moksha is not achieved, anantara phalam of a long stay in heaven and the boon of being reborn in a family of prosperous and cultured is assured. Now, in this slide, analogous and encouraging to all of us, or most of us, is Param Vedanta student especially, is by Swami Madhusudan Saraswati, who says 1 minute of Vedanta Shravanam, let's call it Gita Shravanam, Gita Parayanam, Upanishad Parayanam, and so on. 1 minute of Vedanta Shravanam is equal to 1,000 yagnas. Well, Arjuna asks, well, all this leads us to what? Shashwati Sama Ushitva. You will remain in that heaven for many, many years. Well, that's not too bad, one may say. But Krishna, I did not study Gita and Upanishads and listen to you for Swargaloka. I wanted moksha. Wait, says Krishna. Yoga brashto abhijayate. Even if you have failed in your sojourn on earth, you will be reborn. But where? Shuchinam srimatam gehe. You'll be born in a family of cultured and prosperous. That is the final assurance of the last phrase of that shloka. The prosperity of such a family can be used for noble actions and nishkama karma by you. This slide shows the individual who might have fallen from yoga to bhoga. As the picture shows, like an indulgent protective father, Krishna takes care. While this man has fallen from yoga to bhoga, he sends him initially to the celestial pleasures of heaven and then grants, let's call it as rebirth, again on earth, essentially to continue where he left. God has an account of all our actions of endless times, but one can be rest assured this is in accordance with the law of karma. Spiritual assets earned by the unsuccessful yogi in previous life will be definitely bearing fruit at a later life. Well, in Tokyo Olympics, if one did not hit gold, it doesn't matter. You can always convert the silver to sovereign gold in Paris in 2024, and it's not too far off by a rebirth. And Krishna, like a good coach for 2024, encourages that you may be reborn in a family of wise sages or enlightened yogis. That means better coaches, better equipment, better concentration, and so on. More of this in the shloka 42 by the next speaker. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you, sir, for a nice explanation of this verse with very nice slides. This is a very reassuring words of Lord Krishna. He says, even if a person has failed, because of all the punya that you have attained, you will live for a long time in Swarga. And then, as your illustration showed, Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe. The cultured, well-to-do families, yoga brashta, such a person is reborn to such a family where the environment is very conducive to continue with spiritual study. We will come to the last verse for today, verse 42, which will be explained to us by Jyoti. Over to you, Jyoti.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This is Shloka 42 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Dhyana Samyama Yoga. It has been established that the hereafter is ordered by the actions performed and motives entertained here in this life. There are two types of people that set out on the path of yoga, and the outcome of their path varies. One who has renounced all action, who dies while in the midst of practicing Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana of Vedanta, but due to desire for enjoyment accumulated in the past, may not succeed in yoga. They employ themselves in the worship of the Lord with desire for heavenly enjoyments. Such a person, after their death and having exhausted these desires, will take their birth again here in this world, in the houses of the pure and the prosperous. This is a yoga brashta. Simply put, successful people in society, but also those within dharmic environments. The images in this slide are of personalities based on public perception, so that we can try to relate. There is no way of being certain that they are yoga brashtas. Coming to the second type, there is another kind of person who does not hanker after such objects on account of firmness in the attitude of vairagya or detachment. What happens to such a person? Let us see. This is a continuation of the topic from the previous shloka, and hence this shloka starts with athava or. Athava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam etadhi durlabhataram loke janma yadidrisham. Or he is indeed born into the family of wise yogins. A birth such as this is indeed very difficult to gain in this world. The other type of person who makes a direct and immediate manifestation in which the continuity of the past is clearly noticeable is the theme of this verse. Krishna explains here that those who pursue selfless upasanas thereby gain more and more inner integration. And as a result of it, they become dynamic minds capable of the highest meditation. The more integrated a personality, the more spiritual he becomes, and therefore he must be given a chance to fulfill himself. Not in heaven, which is a plane for enjoyment, but he must arrive right here to strive more diligently and achieve the highest. Such an ego center or jiva, as soon as it leaves one embodiment, immediately comes to manifest itself in a conducive atmosphere where it can continue its pilgrimage without any obstruction. Being an aspiring one, it should necessarily come to be born only in a family of wise men of meditation. When there is abundance of good qualities such as Shraddha, Vairagya, etc., then on account of the absence of desire for enjoyment, the Jiva, without going into the worlds of those who had performed righteous deeds, is born in a family of yogis only, of persons who are poor, those not interested in materialistic pleasures, since they are enlightened. Many times, people who are indifferent to materialism are termed poor by those who assess sufficiency from the lens of wealth. We must be aware that when the Shastras referred to someone as being poor, it is not impoverishment, but the Vairagya towards wealth. Therefore, to be born like Shukamani and others, free from all kinds of false steps, is more difficult to get in this world. Thus, the second type of person is praised because he is fit for renunciation of all actions on account of being free from all desires. Krishna offers both the rich and the poor option, adding emphatically that being born in a poor family, but that of yogis, is any day better than being born in a rich, cultured family. In this world, which has come to respect people only because of their money, it is amazing to see the emphatic view of Sampradaya against the modern, misguided outlook. The problem is not with riches, but with the ego that it creates. The message here is for us to start feeling contented with what we have and look towards fulfilling the purpose of life, which is attaining moksha. Hari Om.
Thank you, Jyoti, for a nice explanation of another very reassuring verse where Shri Krishna says, Athava, alternatively, there is a chance that you will be born to a family of yogis, a spiritually evolved person. And this is Durlabh Bhataram, extremely difficult to get such a kind of a birth. Therefore, Shri Krishna gives that the efforts that we have done in this life will really not go in vain. And it is very encouraging, but at the same time, let us not take any chances while we are alive, while God has given us good health, while we have the grace of these three things. We have the human birth, we have this interest in mumukshutvam, we have the guidance of great acharyas. Let us not waste any time. Let us give topmost priority to our spiritual endeavor. We will be pulled into anatma. Family compulsions will be there, but at some time we have to take a conscious decision. I am not going to be a yoga brashta once again. So the next week's classes will be Aneka Janma Samsiddham. So because of all the punyas of all the previous lives, we have got this particular environment. Let us make the most of it. And finally, in the next class, we will have the concluding verses. That will be verses 46 and 47, where Shri Krishna will say, why a yogi, why a successful meditator? Why is meditation so important? And Shri Krishna will say, give meditation a lot of importance in your life. Meditation here means Vedantic meditation or Nididhyasanam, because that will bring us to from Brahma Jnanam to Brahma Nishta. We will have another young child who will be chanting. Miss Anjana will be doing the chanting of those verses that we have studied today. Over to you, Anjana.
Hari Om. Arjuna Vacha Ayati Shraddhayopeto Yoga Chalita Manasaha Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kangatim Krishna Gacchati Kachinno Bhaya Vibrastaha Chinna Brahmiva Nashyati Apratishto Mahabaho Vimudo Brahmanapati Etanme Samshayam Krishna Chetumarhasya Sheshataha त्वदन्या संशयस्यास्य चेता नाह्युपपद्यते। श्रीभगवानुवाच पार्थ नैवेह नामुत्रा विनाशस्तस्य विद्यते न हि कल्याणकृत् कश्चित् दुर्गतिं तात गच्छति। प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वती समाः शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्। हरि ओम्।
Thank you, Anjana, for the melodious chanting, soaked with divinity. It's very inspiring to listen to such splendid, flawless rendition at a young age. Heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir for his invaluable inputs. A big thank you to all the speakers for sharing their understanding of the verse so beautifully. We saw that pessimism is one of the common obstacles of every seeker. Answering the questions of Arjuna regarding spiritual fall, Krishna's clarification that efforts in Gnana Marga never go futile is most heartening for us seekers. There is no downfall for a person who has come to Shastrik Shravanam. It is in fact a very uplifting and strong message. Let's dwell upon this assurance of Krishna and strengthen our resolve for Shastrik Shravanam as a means of spiritual pursuit and make a self-appraisal of our progress when we meet next or our next session on Monday, the 4th October 2021 at 6:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.